now we are live both here on our webinar platform and also on the YouTube. So for the ones that are watching us on YouTube right now, to ask questions to our speakers, so please register to that webinar by the link that you see in the stream description. So today we speak about AI in factoring. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Olena Gryniuk. I will be your host today. And my guest today, Federico Avellán Borgmeyer, Chief Partner Officer at Avcom, a software provider for the factoring organizations. Federico has nearly 30 years of banking technology experience, including artificial intelligence applications in finance, cryptography, distributed ledger technology, and factoring solutions. Hello, Federico, and thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Olena. Hi, everyone. And welcome, everyone. My name is Federico Borgmeyer, and I welcome you from our offices in Frankfurt, Germany, to everyone joining us from all over Europe or all over the world, actually. So what I would like to do today is give you a little intro, but then also a journey into what we consider applied artificial intelligence in this case, in factoring. Okay. We've been working in this. Yes.
Yes. Before we go to the topic, let me also mention to our attendees that our webinar is scheduled for 45 minutes. We are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and the presentation as well. And you're welcome to ask your questions. So now we will start from Federico's presentation, and after that, we will be ready to answer all your questions. So please type them into the chat, even during the presentation, so as soon as you have them. So yes, let's go to the topic, Federico. We will speak today about the application of AI in factoring, and in particular in the area of matching of invoices handled by factoring organizations with the respective payments. So let's discuss how AI integration can help to automate and make it smarter. I'm passing over to you, Federico.
Thank you so much, Olena. This particular subject that we'll be talking today actually brought me into what I'm doing today, meaning factoring in general, the position I hold today as Chief Partner Officer of Avcom. Because many years ago, and we're talking now, if I look back some 10 years, maybe 11 years back, my friend Jose, who's actually joining from Barcelona in this webinar, called me up in Frankfurt, and he said, Federico, I work with this company who has some solutions in the area of factoring. So I was listening, and I said, yeah, factoring, okay, what else? And then he said, we use artificial intelligence algorithmic for solving a problem that probably seems not relevant to you, but which solves a problem that is a major breakthrough in this particular industry, and also causes a lot of hassle and problems. And then I said, okay. When he said artificial intelligence, something triggered in my head, and because years back, and we're talking in the late 1980s, I was studying artificial intelligence at University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, and that was actually what really interested me. And factoring was only the use case, let's say, to dive into the subject matter of artificial intelligence, which for me had been dormant for 20 years. Because what happened in the 1980s, we were all doing some research and development in this particular area. But it was difficult. It was difficult to put artificial intelligence into work, into use cases that were really bringing value add, and that were easy to program, or easier than in those days, because we lacked power of computing and a series of other things. So when Jose said, Federico, we're working in this area and it's a super sexy thing, and maybe you want to join us, and so on and so forth. I said, okay, this sounds like a plan, and then the journey started for me in moving into the subject matter of factoring, what I discovered lately, and what is now my passion and also profession. But let's look into what we consider applied artificial intelligence in factoring. In the future, companies will be segmented between the ones that master artificial intelligence and the ones that don't. So now you have to question yourself, are we mastering artificial intelligence already? Or are we not touching the subject at all? Or are we thinking about it? Or are we planning about it? Are we doing some first touch base into this particular technology to bring us further ahead in the development and in the solving of problems that we have to solve on the daily basis? D, AI, ML. We listen to these acronyms, and there are plenty of others that I don't want to put on the screen here today. But what do they mean for us? Digitalization. And I know that this has been used on and on for the last 5 years, for some of you maybe for 10 years, for the ones of us that are into this industry of technology or applied technology. It's been there for quite some time. Digitalization is actually everywhere today. So everything, and there's everything when I mean business cases, use cases that can be digitalized, that were analog only a few years ago, and that we thought this is something that cannot be digitalized. Well, today they are. So many business cases, and I guess that when the pandemic started in 2020, many of us who were working in a certain kind of home office mode that was not fashion in those days, well, now it's daily business. Digitalization is everywhere. Artificial intelligence, as we know it today, is also everywhere. And perhaps what you can do is think about where do you think are areas of artificial intelligence that affect your daily life, professionally, but also from a private point of view. Where do you think artificial intelligence is already embedded, and maybe where artificial intelligence is not embedded? And we will wonder where artificial intelligence is also already embedded, helping us to make our life and our daily work easier. And then machine learning. Someone said that machine learning, or data, in this case, data is the oil of the 21st century. And well, it has some connotation when we talk about oil of the 21st century, when we're seeing what is happening in the world right now, where oil plays a major role again. But still, data is the oil of the 21st century. And that's why the analogy is perhaps very interesting, because it gives us some sort of value on what we can do today with data. We can do artificial intelligence, we can do digitalization, we can do so many things with it, and have our machines learning on how to improve and better our life on a daily basis. A whole array of new professions have arisen since the word machine learning or artificial intelligence came on board, because data scientists, who are the individuals, the people who make information out of the huge amount of data that is out there, like Google does, or Amazon does, or the many other companies, Facebook does. Every organization that is sitting on a bunch of data thinking about what can we do with this data and convert it into valuable information that can help us to do a better process, understand better our clients, and improve our daily life. So digitalization, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these buzzwords that are out there and that are creating new industries on a daily basis. Why now? Why are we talking about this over the last 5 or 10 years? When I was working in China 10 years ago, and we touched the subject matter in China about artificial intelligence, well, China wasn't really there, didn't really know about artificial intelligence, nor about machine learning 10 years back. 10 years back also, when I was working in China, and we had one of our clients, one of our big clients in China, Volkswagen, who was having a long lead in payments. And I asked my finance director, so why don't we factor the invoices that we sent to Volkswagen? And he said, Federico, what is factoring? So I explained to him what factoring is and told him, why don't you go to our bank and check out if this particular invoices can be factored. Then he came back to me and said, Federico, factoring is not possible in China. Okay, so factoring was not possible in China 10 years ago, only 10 years ago, and artificial intelligence nor machine learning were really there. We now know that China is, what factoring concerns, something about 25% of the global market in factoring. And this is a market that is over 3 billion. We're talking 3 trillion, 3 trillion euros in 3 American trillions in size. So 25% of that market in 10 years' time is an amazing growth, from 0 to 25% of that market. At the same token, artificial intelligence and machine learning have evolved in China at the same speed. Many areas of artificial intelligence, whether we like them or not, have evolved and are evolving on a daily basis. And this has only been possible because of internet and the computer power that we have today. So when looking back into the time when I was studying artificial intelligence in the late 1980s, we knew how it worked. We had tools to develop forecasting engines, expert systems, and these kind of things using Lisp language, for instance. But we didn't really move that far because we lacked of computing power. And computing power is what we have today. So let's go into some examples of the use of AI. And I would like to have you taking your mobile devices that you all have and go into www.menti.com and type the session code 40500168 and answer the question that you will see there. I will now switch my screen so that we all can see what you all think where AI is embedded nowadays. Okay, now I will share another screen. While you are typing. www.menti.com and use the code 40500168. Do you think that AI is used in any of these areas? Diagnose cancer, forecasting cash in your account, crime prediction, finally finding your perfect spouse? And is there anything AI can not do? All right, so we're moving forward to the yes. I'll give it some few more seconds. Since you're saying forecasting cash in your account and you're all saying yes, the answer is yes. I don't know if there are 20 or so companies out there that are already offering systems that actually have using the PSD2 interface to bank accounts with your permission, of course, offering services that can forecast the cash in your account as an individual, but more importantly, as an organization, as a small and medium enterprise. And how do they do that? Well, they're using not expert system, but forecasting models using AI algorithmic in the sense that they can predict and pretty accurate up to 3 months ahead of time what the cash or cash flow will be in your organization in that period of time. Diagnosing cancer. Well, perhaps not all sorts of cancer, but we were involved in a project in the state of Catalonia, excuse me, where it was used in diagnosing the information out of X-rays. So the system what did is finding possibility or likelihood in an X-ray of any individual and diagnose, for instance, pulmonary cancer or any other cancer that could be detected in an X-ray, and that perhaps the one or the other doctor could not see. So gave you a hint and tell you with a high degree of likelihood, this particular spot indicates that there is a cancer. So diagnosing of cancer is also used. Crime prediction, absolutely. In the past 5 to 10 years, there have been a lot of initiatives from several sides, whether it's the FBI in the United States or whether it's in Europe, where you can predict with some certainty, and the certainty not being 10%, but rather in the 70s, 80s percent, that a particular crime is going to be committed in a particular area at a particular time, including span of time, allowing us to have the authorities to, of course, try to avoid this. Finally, finding your perfect spouse. Well, we all know those tools that are out there that like to match and find you the perfect partner, spouse, if you like. Are they perfect so far? They're not perfect. They're getting there, perhaps, in some time in the future. And again, it is about data. And the more data a system has, the more accurate it becomes. So feeding the system, and our systems are not different than those systems that diagnose cancer or forecasting cash, etc., crime prediction, finally finding your perfect spouse. Well, yes, our systems do the same to avoid a fraud in detecting it and in anomalies that are happening in our systems, in the behavior of particular clients or debtors. So all of this is helping to improve the productivity, but also the performance also of the tools that we have, or in this case, diagnosing cancer, forecasting cash, etc. So the question is in here, like with digitalization, is there anything AI cannot do? And the answer is probably, not today, but no. Is there anything AI cannot do? Probably from a perspective of a human being, transferring a lot of information to systems that are able to learn using machine learning. Well, yes, there is very little that AI cannot do under our view, from our perspective. So thank you very much for those who participated in the poll. I'm returning to the presentation. So give me a sec. Okay, now you should be seeing my screen. And I'm switching back to this one. Olena, you have to tell me if you're not seeing my presentation, please. When talking about artificial intelligence in finance, coming back now, trying to narrow from the universe of possible applications in artificial intelligence into what is our space, namely the finance space. There are a number also of applications that are already been used to detect or help. For example, anti-money laundering, AML. Um, we have developed systems, but there are other systems out there in the market that do try to identify a change in behavior in order to identify if money is being laundered. So it falls into the risk pattern kind of applications. Cash forecast and optimization, we talked about that. Then fraud detection, online risk patterns evaluation, and of course, our particular subject from today, namely factoring expert matching. And now you will ask, why is it so important? Which is the question that I made to Jose 10 years ago. Why is matching payments to invoices so important? And why is it so difficult? So one of the reasons is, well, because the payer is a third party, it's not not the debtor. That happens very often in the healthcare system, where someone else is paying for a particular invoice. So you're kind of confused when you receive a payment from someone who was not even invoiced, and then trying to figure where to allocate that. So that could be one reason. There are a large amount of many more, as I wrote already at the end, but the typical ones are payer is a third party, not a debtor. Payer is the same client, so someone issues an invoice perhaps and is paying for it. Why is that? That happens in in-house factoring. Partial payment. Perhaps you have an invoice for 100, but you're being paid only 50. So the question is, why 50 and not 100? Well, because maybe the partial payment comes because there's only a partial delivery, and that was also part of the deal. So you have to identify that, and if you don't know that, and you have to look for that in the contracts, etc., then this becomes like this lady is showing, well, a very cumbersome job to do. One transfer clear, several invoices. We see that every day, where you have remittances that pay between 2, 3, up to 100 or even more open invoices with one payment. And then the question is, which ones, right? So one transfer clear all several invoices, and you now have to figure out which are the ones, and that can be very cumbersome in straight factoring. Minor amount of differences, plus or minuses, discounts, commissions, sconto, as we call it in Germany sometimes. So these kind of deviations from the amount that was agreed can cause a lot of havoc. Invoice has not arrived or been processed. That means we receive a payment, but we have not even received an invoice. Well, that also happens. So you're getting paid for something and you don't know what for. Misspelling of beneficiary can happen so many times, especially in when people think that the name of the particular beneficiary is such, and then misspell them, and then your systems, who work very binary, either correct or not correct, will allocate that particular payment into something we don't know. And so there are many more other reasons why matching payments to invoices is so difficult, or are so difficult. And now you would wonder is this a big issue? I mean, how many payments do you receive per day? Is it one payment, or is it hundreds or thousands of payments? Well, then the thing becomes really interesting. And the question is, how much can be matched easily without AI? So AI doesn't have to go in areas where you don't need AI, but it is very helpful in areas where AI has a power. And in this case, we know that some 50% of payments can be matched one-to-one with invoices. That means the beneficiary, the amount is the right one, 1,000 to 1,000, maybe expiry dates, and all these kind of things are the same. So, okay, one-to-one, perfect, matched. But now, what happens, or how to handle the difficult 50%, the remaining ones? And those are the ones that really create the problems. Or to say it differently, how to handle thousands of mismatched open invoices with incoming payments under pressure on a daily basis and without a nervous breakdown. In our organization, just a few meters distance from where I'm standing right now, one of our team members, Georgia, she used to work 13 years doing exactly that. And he said, Federico, you don't know, it was the first thing I had to do in the morning. And I don't know, you're reading my mind with this particular sentence. So it was exactly like that. How to handle thousands of mismatched open invoices with incoming payments under pressure, because the first thing in the morning is that you have to do that. Otherwise, you cannot start your business on a daily basis, because it happens every day, and without a nervous breakdown. And what happens if Magic Georgia is not there because she happened to be on vacation, or calls out for sick, etc., and she's not there? The person who knows exactly, perhaps by experience, as an expert, which payments could be allocated to which invoices. So, coming to our particular subject, AI in factoring using factoring expert matching. In this case, what does it do? Well, it does a lot. It improves productivity times 7. Aha. Oh my God, times 7. That is a lot. So if I had to use, let's say, 100 full-time equivalents, or 700, now I only need 100, or 7-1. Or I can do other things. You can also say, instead of doing matching of invoices, which is a very tedious work, I can start talking more to my clients and have a more interactive communication with them, and spend the time on things that are of real value add, instead of doing this manual work that a machine, a system can help me to do much faster, much better. So it copes with misspelling and inexact information. We call that in artificial intelligence fuzzy logic. That means it is not 100%. It's not 1 and plus 1 is 2. It could also perhaps be 1.9 to 1.1. We don't know. We approximate fuzzy logic. So it copes with misspelling and inexact info, giving an approximation. And the most approximate is most likely the one that is the one. The way we do also our approximation. It's a little bit like the human brain functions, because we approximate, we try to narrow down to what is most likely the answer. It uses all available information. Whatever information is available, it will be taken. So we're very happy to get a bunch of information, a lot of information. In here, less is more is not the answer. In here is, give me everything you've got, and then we'll become better and better. It integrates what we call multiple balance criteria. In the case of matching invoices to payments, well, it would be the payer, the beneficiary, the amount, the due date, invoice number. Some of them having a higher, let's call weight than others, because of our experience, because the experience we have in doing this over many, many years. And this is not a system that is under development. No, it's been in the market for nearly 13, 14 years right now, becoming better and better, of course. And it's being used in several clients in Europe and in Latin America from our side, with very renowned organizations, like in Spain, BBVA, like in Germany, a subsidiary of HSBC, or in Latin America, Banco de Chile. performs multiple approaches. So it doesn't look at the problem only from one side, but from many sides. Automatically learns, and now we come to the machine learning thing, automatically learns from user activity. It improves from 50 to at least, we say, 85% matching. We'll show you a case in the next slides where we got even further ahead with data that was provided to us from a client, where we did a simulation in telling the client, give us your data, and we will make a simulation and tell you on how much you can improve your matching if you were doing AI. And it's something actually that we can do also with you. It is, now hold on, 3,000 times faster than experts. Why do we do that? Say that? Because we know that on average, because we have all these clients and we know how much time they spend on a manual basis doing the matching of invoices. And we figured, or they figured, it is about 15 minutes per invoice. Okay, that means some invoices are identified quickly because the expert, the Georgias of this world, see the payment and say, yeah, this is Maya and Company, most likely, or 100%, because I know that. All right, check. But then some others, she would know, maybe it's a new client, it's a new business relationship, debtor, etc. So you don't know really. So you have to go and look, and that can cost you maybe an hour. So on average, 15 minutes per invoice. Well, our systems do that in 300 milliseconds. So now you can do the math, and you come out that it is 3,000 times faster than experts. So it is worth looking into artificial intelligence in some particular areas. In this particular one, it is proven that it works and it helps. Then also, of course, user-friendly factoring interface. This can be used as a standalone system, hooked to any system that is out there in the market, or integrated into our EFX, EF3 system from FCOM, the backend system to process factoring. So you can do it either way. What are the critical factors in implementing AI? Well, integration in financial environments can be very difficult. You have legacy systems that can be as old as going back in the 1960s, 1970s, and so on. So integration in financial environments is always difficult. Obviously, for us, it would be much easier and to implement that in new organizations, but integrating in legacy systems is a difficulty. The data flow formats that go along with it, so we have to convert them into data that is readable by our machine. The test environments, databases, and very important, the human factor and the user resistance to change. So even after you prove everything and you've shown the business case, you've done the simulation, and the simulation that can look pretty convincing, well, yeah. So the question is here, artificial intelligence is getting ready for your business, but are your business ready for AI? And if you are ready for it, but you don't know how, well, then talk to us. Get your own improvement tested. I'm just showing you without naming, of course, a client. We had a client in Germany that told us, okay, this sounds like music in my ear, but I don't believe until I see it, and I don't want to buy the system and then figure it doesn't work. So can you guys show me if this would work with our environment, with our universe of client debtors, etc., with our historical data? And we said, sure. Give it to us. You can anonymize the information of debtors and clients and so on. And we'll put them into our machine and run a simulation. And in that case, we boosted from nearly 50%, as we said, which is about the industry average, matching to 91%. The combination reduced the time spent on reconciliations by 75%. And the intelligence learning mode increases, of course, the number of right matches over a short period of time. As we can see here, it becomes like an asymptote curve over a period of some 30 days. So we simulated and we figured that within some 30 days time, your system would be basically fully operational. So you're happy to join us and get your own improvement tested. If you like, get in touch with us. But seeing is believing, and now I will show you a short demo. Up. No, this one. I hope you can all hear the sound that will come now.
This is a little introduction on the demo to understand what we are going to be doing. First of all, indicate that we are going to deal with real data that has been obfuscated. Obfuscated means that there is no way to get back the original. So let's start with this. Here we.
But Jose wanted to say with obfuscated is that the data that we're going to show you here as our sample data to make a demo is real data from real customers, but we just made them or encrypted them into names that are like Joker, like a movie Joker or Terminator, Quiero Vivir, etc. But you cannot go back. So from Joker, you cannot derive this is client so-and-so or debtor so-and-so.
You can see the relations between clients and debtors. We have here a little universe of 300 and something clients and debtors all together, in which we've changed the names and the fiscal numbers. So over here we have only stated names of movies, just as a way to disguise the real people behind them. Second, we have to understand that there is little information on the transfers. Transfers that are received have only very, very minor information. Some names, sometimes there's names, sometimes there is invoice numbers. For sure there is amounts and dates. So this is what we are going to be showing. When we load all this data, we are now going to see on the tool on FEM. FEM is like a super microscope that allows us to see. We are going to see now that
this is the so-called factoring expert matching engine that I was preparing you to see. And that can be used in this case as a standalone system. So Jose is showing us the standalone or embedded 100% in our EFX EF3 application.
When we check the matches, we've not loaded the data, so there is no matches realized. We are now going to launch the loading of the data and the matching.
So now we're loading all the data.
We've loaded the data, and now we are going to launch the matching that does all the possible combinations. And now we can go into the tool to see the matches that the system proposes. We are now going to be seeing these 8 transfers that have a...
Okay, we saw basically 8 payments in that universe, and that took us, you probably counted, the 300 milliseconds per each payment, so 2.4 seconds in calculating or computing time.
Arrived are in the system. So if we go to the matching spending validation, we see that these are the transfers that have arrived. Let's see how can we configure the tool. We have in a password protected administration menu. we have the possibility to modify the system constants. This allows
This is the
us
configuration
to
of the
configure
system.
the way the engine works, also the way that it presents the results, and the possibility to activate certain features if we want to have them operational or not. At another level, we can see as well another of the powerful features that we have is the possibility of multi-level filtering in a search of invoices. At whatever level we are in the work process, we can access to the filtering system. If we search without restriction, we can see all the invoices that are available in the database. But then we can go on.
That is, for instance, in that particular case where we talked about you get something paid, but you don't know to which invoice, and maybe the invoice has not yet even arrived. So then you can use the filters in here and check by the amount, is there any payment that goes close to that or whatsoever, or in the beneficiary or whoever.
And filter by invoice number, by amount, make a search concentrating in amount. For instance, let's state between zero and 1,000. If we search, then we can find these are the amounts, these are the invoices with amounts between 0 and 1,000. We can also filter using invoice number. If we state here 2,000 and we search, now we are presented with the only invoice that has between 0 and 1,000 that has the invoice number 2100.
Now this is a different case.
Let us now see how the tool can help us in our work. Some little comments to introduce. When this is a feature that can be configured, but when the paid amount is exactly the same as an invoice, this invoice is presented in yellow color. This can be configured, okay? Even if the system does not see any relation at all, if the amount is exactly the same, we can present it. It's not the case now here, because for instance, even if this is a low matching rate, 50%, in this case, the amount is exactly the same and it's presented, okay? In this other case, for instance, down here, we can see 78%.
So what you see here is always the highest probability with 50%, 46% coming later, etc., in telling you what the likeliest or most probable is of all the cases. So then you can take a decision.
The comment is that dates are not very relevant because people can pay in advance or delay. Let's now see 3 cases in which we can see the contribution of the tool. Let's go for this case here, for this payment of 16,915 euros. Okay, if we check here, we see that the system identifies the contract number that appears here in the observations field. Even it's not exactly the same, it can be matched to really confirm. And also we have the invoice, 25,470, and the amount is exactly the same. With these 3 elements, the system can confirm practically that this is the right invoice. So we could just confirm this by ticking this point. So we save and return.
Only 3 more minutes for the demo.
Let's see this case. In this case can be a bit confusing, as what we find here is that the issuer name of the invoice that we find is the doors, and the debtor is a girl who walks home alone at night. In this case, the relevant elements are the amount and the invoice number. Both amount and invoice number are exactly the same, and this gives us the highest ranked matching. And this is what we have to confirm or accept.
Now comes the case where one transfer
We go now
pays
for
several
the
invoices?
third case. In this third case, we are going to find a case where we can see that it's not marked in yellow because the amount of the payment, 79,655, there is no invoice of that amount. So if we go in detail, we find that we identify over here that there is a contract. This contract appears here, and we have a lot of invoices that could be, and we have the statement over here that says two invoice numbers, 21. In this case, we have 2110. So if we mark this one, and then 210044, 210034 is not exactly the same, but it's almost the same. We see that when we mark it, automatically the system deducts it. Okay, and
So now we see up here the amount that was paid. Now with the accumulated amount with the two invoices that Jose just marked, come to the final accumulated amount, and then he just clears it off.
in this case, these two amounts total the amount of the transfer. So we can be sure that this invoice is covered. These two invoices are covered by this payment. We can return now, and if we return, we can see that matches, validated matches, are already, this is the work that is been done, and it's ready for the host to be posted.
Meaning now all these matchings are sent to the host. So the three different steps: first loading the data, then doing the matching, and when the matching is done, then loading it up into the host. Okay, so this is the end of our demo and presentation, and I'm very curious to see if there are any questions out there. First of all, thank you very much for bearing with me and Jose, who is also joining, by the way. So please, and sorry for delaying a few minutes, Olena.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much, Federico, for this very interesting and insightful presentation. I think that all our attendees liked it very much. So, yes, we have a first question from Olivier. Can the algorithm help any factoring business move from 50% of matched invoices to 90% instantly, or is there a learning curve? And second, if the latter, how long does it take for the algorithm to learn how to match the invoice of a particular factoring business?
Thank you so much. I think that question was posted before I showed the graph of our simulation. And as you can see, 50% in that particular case with that client, we reached 91%. And the simulation showed us that within 30 days time, your system is basically on a maximum. Why not 100%? Well, because you have new portfolios that you get. So there's a constant in and out, and so the system doesn't stay stable with the same client and debtors, and the system starts learning again from new with the new ones, but the old ones are learned, and that keeps the system at some 85 to 90%. Maybe at this, if the question doesn't come, just to answer it quickly, if someone thought about it, do we always have to do the clicking and by, well, whereas the clicking already improved our time spent by a lot. You could program the system that everything that is, let's say, marked with 90% or 95 or whatever you think and consider after working with the system on a regular time to be 100, and automatically declare it as passed, approved. Like you would do it as a human being as well, without knowing 100% that it is like that. But your experience shows, and therefore you just let it go as 100%.
We have a question from Tana. How is AI protected against spam?
How is AI protected against spam? So let's call it data that is not useful, right? I would say. Well, remember when Jose said something about, or in the presentation, where we said legacy is an issue or there is a constraint, and also the quality of the data, of course. And if the quality of the data is not good and it doesn't reflect the real transactions, then the machine is learning something that is wrong. And this is one of the areas that we're working to reduce the amount of crap or spam or data that is not useful in the system. You're completely right. This is a problem. Yeah.
Yes, and Jose commented, it is internal within the factor, not accessible from out of the factor.
Yes.
Right. Federico, I have a question to you. Let
Go
us
ahead.
talk about the costs. And
Yes.
both of implementation and not implementation of AI. Last year, we did a study here at SME Banking Club in the Central Eastern Europe region, and it showed that around 30% of financial organizations, meaning bank and factoring companies as well, had some projects with AI in their organization. So, more than half of the organization do not have it in strategy, at least in the nearest future, like in the nearest year or two. So my question for you is, what is the cost of implementing, for example, AI in the matching of invoices processes, let's say? Because, the challenges of why financial organizations are not implemented very fastly AI is known, and you mentioned them. And what is the cost that you showed actually at the beginning of your presentation, not implementing AI at all?
Right. I think you just said that with the last sentence, you give me the first one. Not implementing it has a much higher cost because every day you incur costs that are completely or not necessary. If you have a team of people working on doing the matching of invoices and for some reason you lose the one or the other individual, and sometimes even more at once. This is, by the way, the reason why we started this project some 15 years ago, because a client figured that in his department, the people that were doing the matching of invoices all disappeared at once. So they were like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So we're super dependent on the experts. But what happened if the experts are not there for any reason? And any is really any reason. So their cost went up. I mean, reputational cost, damage, wrong allocation. So not doing AI cost them an enormous amount. On the other side, if you want to know what it does, well, the quality of service to customers improves because you're more accurate. If you do two transactions per day, okay, that is easy. You can handle it by yourself. But if you have thousands or even 100,000, some institutions actually do that, then you cannot overview and oversee that. So the efficiency is very important. You can dedicate to a new task. Their human dependency is less. And how much is that cost? Almost nothing. So for us, it's we tell our clients most likely you're going to get your return on investment in less than a year, because if you have 3 people, 4 people, or 2 people doing this, it does the job of 7. So I think that says it all. And to give you a number, for those who like numbers, for 50K, you're in. And the implementation, the biggest concern for us is always the ones that we mentioned in the presentation. Is there legacy systems? Are they too complex? It will take a little bit longer, but we're working with big banks that have legacy systems going back into the 70s, and it works. And then, of course, the quality of data. So these two are let's say, the bottlenecks that we could face. But in a modern banking world, I would say weeks or months. Yeah, very quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How to select an appropriate AI partner? What are your recommendations?
how to select an appropriate AI partner? Well, I guess they should show that they have experience. And
Mhm.
I think when we presented you today our business case, this is a business case that's been running for over 10 years. So we have nearly so many clients using our AI in expert matching.
Mhm.
So we can tell you all the stories. We have a proof of concept. And on top of that, we can do the testing as we promised. If someone wants to have it, get in touch with us. It's on the presentation, our contact details, and we can happily do a simulation of your data in an anonymous way, of course, and then you will see the results, and then we can go on. This is how it works best.
Mhm.
Experience
Mhm.
and proof of concept.
Mhm.
Theoretically, many things are possible, but ours is working. Yeah.
Okay. 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 And to end the webinar on a very positive notes, what are your tips? Could you give a short tips on how to implement AI successfully?
Yes, I guess an open mind is the first thing. Willingness to change, which is one of the other, criteria that we see could always block. As I said, the uh, humans tend to try to keep everything as it is, and but our world keeps turning. So go into an environment that is open-minded, and if we find an open-minded team from our client side, things can be so miraculously nice. I mean, we had an implementation during COVID time
Mhm.
where we were kind of, this is never going to work, because in the past we never did an implementation without being on site with the client and working with them on. Well, in this case, we didn't touch their premises one day. And we have a very, very nice recommendation from the head of factoring from that organization that tells us, oh my God, I mean, this was super, super great what you guys did. So open-minded, and yeah, ready for change. Give yourself a try. This is
Mhm.
not rocket science anymore. And don't be the one that missed the AI train. And get yourself learning with this, and perhaps in other areas you will see other opportunities where we're not on board, where we cannot help you, but where you have done yeah, your trials, probably no errors because those were already on our side, and get yourself involved. This would be my recommendation.
Thank you very much, Federico, for your contribution and fantastic presentation today. Thank you very
Thank
much. Thank you to our attendees for staying till the very end and being so active. Thank you. And thank you for being with us and join us for the next webinar as well. Please subscribe our YouTube channel and also our LinkedIn page to stay tuned on the topics. Thank you and see you next
Thank
time.
you,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you. Bye bye.